you pursue that, and
all right,
let us know exactly what what a virus itself is, and whether in fact it plays any part in disease.
Right. A virus, so-called, is always dead. There's no such thing as a live virus. Even the so-called live viruses means they were obtained from live tissue instead of dead tissue. But viruses, so-called, are actually genomes. Now, a genome is the genetic material. And if you look at a cell in your body, you have about 100 trillion of them. And each cell has a nucleus. And these nucleuses disintegrate when the cells disintegrate. There are lysosomes which dissolve the cell. And of course, they do not do a thorough job, and the actual nucleus of the cell is well protected. And in degenerating it, it may not completely destroy that nucleus, which is the genome for a cell. That is where the chromosomes, the genetic material, is housed. If it's not destroyed, it just floats in the system, and it's called a cytomegalovirus. But something that most people don't realize is each cell has from maybe 20, 30 to 40,000 mitochondria in each cell. A cell is a little walled-in city, and it has these residents there as independent forms of life, just like bacteria, an independent form. In fact, they're no larger than a bacterium. So when the cell is destroyed, these mitochondria are also destroyed, and each mitochondrion has a genome. That's a control center. A genome is to a mitochondrion, or organelles, which they're called, what the brain is to the human body. It's a control mechanism. Okay. It has the blueprint whereby that mitochondrion creates our energy from glucose. It has the blueprint for making specialized proteins that the cell and even the body needs. These mitochondrions are really the basic unit of life. They have collected together, and they have a protected environment called a cell. And of course, cells have united together, and they have a protected environment called a body. But when the cells die, and we have maybe 300 to 500 billion cells dying every day and being replaced at the same rate as a rule, the dead cells disintegrate. When you figure it out, if there's, say, 500 billion cells a day dying, and each one has 20,000 shall we say, mitochondrion dying. Well, you have several quadrillion, maybe a quintillion of genomes that are involved. And if those that survive or don't get completely destroyed, they're dead, yes, but they just float around in the system. Now, there are processes called pinocytosis and phagocytosis, whereby cells recycle the body's own waste. The body's own waste are very subject to use. It's not an alien material, and all it does is the cell takes it in, it actually invaginates it, becomes a little dent in it, and then it envelops the material, and it forms an impromptu stomach, and lysosomes, again, go in and digest this material and break it down into the proteins, the amino acids, and the fats into simple fatty acids or monoglycerides and glycerols, and then the cell can use it. It reconstitutes it into its own materials. So what they're calling the genome is that material which floats around that came out of mitochondria, but they're calling them viruses. After all, the system is based on drugs, and it needs scapegoats in order to justify the system. They're sending the drugs in to destroy these so-called things. Never mind that the drugs destroy the human being more than they destroy anything else, and dead material don't have to be destroyed, it's already dead.
When you say the system now, are you talking about the body mechanism or about people?
When I'm talking about the system, I'm really talking about the medical system.
Okay, all right.
The cartel which controls it, right.
All right.
They need scapegoats. And when you have disease, they want you to use their representatives, which are called physicians in hospitals and clinics. They want you to go there and get treated because these people are trained drug peddlers. They don't realize it, but they're sophisticated in drug dispensing. They've been taught that. They're not taught about health in the medical schools. They're taught about dispensing drugs. The pharmaceutical houses, they need drug peddlers. And what they do is elevate trained medical men and women to a high station. They give them semi-divinity, and whatever they say goes, because they know that the medical profession will dispense their drugs that way. Now, you know about medical societies. If someone wants to go and get people healthy and not dispense drugs, they get kicked out, and they lose their license, because the system is set up to serve the drug industry and not to serve the people. I've had several MDs take our course, and I've had one in Idaho who started fasting people, giving them raw diets and more fruits, and for not dispensing drugs, he was kicked out of the society. Well, he kept on practicing, and they hauled him in for violating the Medical Practices Act. And the judge told him if he so much as prescribed a glass of water to anyone hereafter, he would be hauled into jail. So he can't even prescribe a glass of water for a dying man.
But now, Dr. Fry, that is a very serious charge.
Well, it's serious if you're into the racket and don't want to be shown up. But if for people who are out there listening to this who have no vested interest in medicine or pharmaceutical interest, hey, this should be very serious. It should be the best news they've had.
But how can you say to the person who wakes up every morning and cannot live without an aspirin, or the person whose closet is full of medications given by the family doctor, and the family doctor who's trusted himself, who writes the prescription, how can you convince my public out there that all of these people are in some sort of undeclared conspiracy to do them harm?
Oh, gosh, I'm surprised that our ancestors in nature ever made it at all. I'm surprised that people in tribes in Africa get along at all because, hey, they don't have any physicians, drugs, or anything. They live as foragers and hunters.
Well, you know, it did occur to me that there are no veterinarians out in the plains, are there?
That's correct, and the animals get along just fine, don't they? Healthy, never diseased and sick. And of course, when man takes over and dictates the diet of the animal, he gets sick, and they take him to a vet, and he makes him sicker.